Hello everyone, I'm the Holy Hermit and I welcome you all to episode 2 of our new podcast. A podcast without a name, but I think that's the whole idea behind it. It's nameless, just like I am. Identityless, I guess, the same thing goes for me. But the point is, I welcome you all to the second episode. And as always, we have a new guest today, an amazing and awesome friend of mine, a fellow streamer on Twitch. Did I say an awesome friend? Because he really is. Mr. Christian, sir, do introduce yourself, please. Who are we talking to today?
Hello.
So what do you do, Mr. Christian,
glad to be here. I currently play Diablo most of the time now for my life.
Oh,
and I
the
stream...
best thing to do.
Oh, yes. But I play other games as well. But Diablo currently has most of my attention.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's... yeah, I guess that's what we're all here for, guys. This podcast, as we always talk about, the first section, the big part, will always be about D3. So we are not just going to talk about, hey, I'm getting the game, this is the skill that's useful, this is the item that will be useful. Here we'll try to get into kind of our opinion about the game, something that you guys have always been asking me, and Mr. Christian as well, as streamers, as YouTuber, what do you think about the game, where the game is going to go, is it going to be any good, so that kind of thing. So the topics we're going to cover today will be about the end game for Diablo 3. If you guys have missed it in the last few days on Diablo forums, there's been a big uproar going about people who've been complaining about what the end game for Diablo would be. And I say that with a big caution. I'm sure, Mr. Christian, sir, you must have seen forums, Diablo fans, Battle.net forums, where people are complaining, big guys, and by big guys I mean people who are MVPs, people who've been playing this game for thousands and thousands of hours. They have a big presence in the whole community on Battle.net. They've been saying that Diablo Reaper of Souls, they were excited about it in the beginning, but now they're saying the game is taking a step backwards. And the core of their conversation, some arguments I personally would not understand. As a gamer, I love Diablo. Everything about it is amazing. The fact that Mr. Christian and I are talking about it right now and we're playing it and streaming all the 9 yards basically means that we are absolutely lovers of the game. But there have been some problems that have been brought up in that little topic there, in not little, I should say, a very big topic in these forums. So we're going to talk about that. So Mr. Christian, sir, we're going to kick this off and I'm going to ask you about a question. So you must have seen Reaper of Souls stream. You're a big streamer here. What do you think about the end game for Diablo 3? Reaper of Souls. I'm sure you must have seen the ideas for bounties and all the good stuff, legendaries.
Right.
So would you kindly, sir, would you be able to explain to our new viewers here what the end game in Diablo Reaper of Souls would be?
Well, personally, I think, and this isn't necessarily a problem with the end game per se, but one thing I'm really sort of worried about with the end game is the speed at which people are going to achieve it.
Very good point there. Okay.
Because people do grind this game extremely hard, just as most other video games, and part of me is worried that people will, download RoS and just absolutely, envelop themselves in the game and get in game in like a couple weeks.
Okay, so the big concern is time, as you're saying, sir. That the progression rate will be so very fast, I guess, so quick that in day 2, day 3, you've finished act whatever it is, going to be act 5 on the highest difficulty, which is Torment 6, and then in the next few days you find all the legendaries, and poof, that's it. That's the game done for you. So the problem that everyone's been always talking about, Diablo is a fun game. It's a dungeon crawler. The goal is to find legendaries and all. And that's again what Mr. Christian's saying. So I guess to twist the question and ask you the same thing again, sir, what do you think about the legendaries? Because that again is I think the core of Diablo experience for most gamers. It's about finding loot. So since you said the end game might be short, and again we're going to address all these topics one by one, what this end game really means. But right now the question is about age, and with age also comes us finding good items that we can use and play with forever and ever. So what do you think about legendaries, end game legendaries? Are the drop rates good? Are the drop rates not so bad? Can they be improved? Any ideas?
I do hear that right now in the beta and everything that the public has their hands on, everything is inflated greatly. It's because they want people to find these legendaries. They want to test the legendaries out for bugs and all that stuff. So I hear the actual drop rates and all that stuff is inflated about 40 to 60%.
All right, okay.
So as far as drop rates and stuff like that goes, I feel like that's maybe a little bit tentative on the real game. because it's gonna really decrease a lot.
So when the
actual
real game
comes
launches, what you're trying to say, sir, is the drop rate will go down. But the problem there, as you're making a good point, is if people are complaining already about the legendary drop rate, so the concern then would be that, hey, you buy Reaper of Souls, then does that mean that you'll not find legendaries at all? It's going to be something like the pre 1.0.5 legendary drop rate, where once in a blue moon you find a legendary. And we've been promised so far that the legendaries will be game changing, they'll be something that'll affect your gameplay. But if you don't find them, then hey, what's the point of farming for that long? So to add on that question, sir, my question to you would be, for a streamer, for a guy who plays the game for a very long time, what do you think the ideal time for finding a legendary? This is a big question, and Mr. Travis Tay himself, the guy who's been working, you know, hands-on, very busy with the production of the game itself, he asked a question to the streamers, and not to streamers, sorry, to the players. And the question was, what do you think is a good amount of time one needs to spend before he finds a ping on the map? So how much time does a player need to play the game for? 1 hour, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 10 hours? What do you think, Mr. Chris? Because that's a very important question.
That is a good question. I think it. I would feel comfortable if I played this game hard, like grinded, not necessarily grinded, but just played, you know, played through the axe and like, you know, did some farming stuff like that. If I find one every 45 minutes to an hour, maybe hour 15,
all right,
that would personally, to me, feel like, yes, I've worked.
all right.
I've put some time in. Yes, finally some spoils, you know, for my work that I've put in, and I think about that time would be a sufficient time to find something of worth.
All right,
You know,
so
'cause
that's very
not
nicely
every-
said. So yeah. So
Yeah.
to elaborate on that topic, guys, we'll explain to you what exactly the legendaries will be in Reaper of Souls. There are going to be tiers of legendaries, same way there are tiers of item right now in the game. You see the white items, the broken grey items, then you have the blue, then you have the yellows, and then you have legendaries and set legendaries. They're all pretty much similar. And of course, the systems are always obscure, but right now, if you see a legendary, the chance of it being dropped, it could be pretty much anything. It could be you get an Ageless Might, or it could be you find an Echoing Fury. As far as we know, the drop system, at least what's been revealed to the public, is pretty much the same. So you have these tiers of awesomeness in item finding. But in Reaper of Souls, as Christian is kind of pointing out how he wants to spend a certain amount of time finding a good legendary item. But legendaries in Reaper of Souls are not just going to mean that, hey, this is your legendary, and here you go. Because legendaries themselves will have tiers. There will be good tiers of item, there will be the lower tier item. It's not going to say anywhere on the item. Again, that's the internal mechanism they are going for. Lower legendary, lower kind of value legendaries, they're going to be dropping a little bit more frequently, and then the good legendaries, something equivalent of, let's just say, Witching Hour right now, will be slightly harder to find. And then when it comes to the really good stuff, let's just say a very perfect Enos Pants, I'm talking something like 199 dex, 90 vitality, all that good stuff, or something very rare like a Echoing Fury with 1200 DPS and all the good stuff. We all know how the good items are. So the points I'm trying to make, in Reaper of Souls, the items will have tiers, and these tiers will be exclusivity, how good they will be, and they'll also drop in a strange way. You just saw an item dropping for me here. Now this item could be pretty much anything. This could be, I think, the Dark Mage Shade, which it is, or it could be something useful. But in Reaper of Souls, that will not be the case. You have a thing called set legendary. So Mr. Christian, the question then, since you said earlier that, hey, I would like to get a legendary every 45, let's just call it an hour or so. Every hour of my hard work I put into the game, I would like to see a legendary. Now, no matter how many legendaries they add, if you play the game for 40, 50, 60 hours, and since they're also talking about smart drop, which means most of those legendaries will be for your class, does that mean you would like to have all the legendaries with you in about 100 hours of gameplay? Or would you like to, as I talked about tiers earlier, let's say if you have a green item, which will be a set item, those items, their drop chance will be significantly lower, and that's what Blizzard's going for. So to again, I guess, twist the question, as I've been twisting him all day today, is what do you think about these legendary tiers? What kind of legendary would you like to have every hour or so? What would be the progression rate of legendaries themselves in the game? Any thoughts on that?
That's an excellent question. I think that for the tiers of legendaries, I think every one and maybe like for these really strong legendaries, if those came up every 1 and 10 1 in 7 maybe.
Okay,
Like
and
maybe even
sorry
get
to
more scarce than
clarify, the
that.
number 7 would be the 7 legendaries you find. So out of 7,
Yes.
great. Please, yeah, carry on, sir.
Yes. So like every legendary out of 7 that I find is one of these really nice tier legendaries. That's gonna feel awesome because you're like, okay, I got these other legendaries, that were decent, but yes, I finally put in the work and found this 1700 DPS Echoing Fury that I can throw on my Barb or my Monk now and just totally, and maybe that's what it takes to get you to that next Torment level.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think something like that is going to be extremely bone chilling. Like, you're just going to be like, oh, yes.
Right.
Now, I've put in the work, I've put in the hours. Maybe you put in 30, 40 hours to find this. I'm just using Echoing Fury as a...
I understand,
as a,
yes.
Yeah. And now I'm able to play, Torment 5, maybe. I don't, but maybe that's what it takes to get to that next level. And then that's just gonna make you feel so awesome. Like, yeah, I put in the work. I found the legendary. Now I'm ready to take on a new level of enemy.
Absolutely. So it's about, the reward. It's not something like a risk and reward. You keep playing and you hope for that good thing to happen. What players are asking for, including yourself, and I think Blizzard has realized that the more game you play, the better chance of you finding these amazing legendaries. And I think that's very important for a game like this. Blizzard not only want to satisfy the hardcore gamers, which I think every one of you watching the stream right now or on YouTube, wherever you will, and of course us guys, we are hardcore gamers. We are the hardest of the hardest fans for D3. We play it, we stream it, we watch it, all that good stuff. So what Blizzard is going for is that people like us who play the game slightly more than other people should get the reward in that same tier. It's about the continuous progression. So whatever this hour number would be that Blizzard is going for, it could be a 20-hour. Again, we're just giving you numbers, and these are not perfect numbers. But the point is to make an analogy here that, hey, if you play the game for 40 hours, here's legendary number 1. If you're after that amazing set, Ina's whole complete set for the expansion, which gives you all mantras active at all time, that'll take you about 200-300 hours. And I think that'll be amazing because, as you said, it's about progression. It's about slowly progressing. You start off the game at a certain difficulty level. You venture into Torment. Try Torment 1. Hey, this is kind of challenging. Torment 2, you're like, nah, that's just not for me. My gear is not there yet. So how are you going to get there? No auction house. I guess you can trade some item, but that being said, you still will be farming in your party. Maybe you're the party leader. Maybe you're the one helping out your friends. But the point is, it's not going to be as easy right now as it is. You just give someone some gear and here you go, man. You can try MP10. Every time you want to move up a difficulty, every time you want to make your experience slightly more interesting, the answer will always lie in the loot. It's all about that loot. It's about if you find the next upgrade, there you go. So from Torment 1 to 2, you get that normal legendary. Hey, it has 20 skills to, 20% to fire damage. For example, I'm sure you guys must have heard of an item called Cindercoat. The build I'm using right now on the screen, as you can see, is called a Fire Palm Monk. Every damage I'm doing is in form of fire. So, hey, I found a Cindercoat. Even though it's not going to increase my sheet DPS by a lot, every fire skill I'm using deals 20% or 30% more damage. You find, let's say, something else, Firewalkers. Items like these that are not, they are better than rare items, but are not astoundingly epic. But they will give you that little nudge to move to the next difficulty. And I think that is something very important. What we're trying to say is we want a good progression, not in the game itself, but a progression that is based on time. As in, you find items that basically move you steadily from one difficulty to the other, and it shouldn't be something like, hey, I found the best endgame item in the first hour of gameplay. It should be something like a slow progression. I think that's what we're aiming for. So if Blizzard can do that, which I think they've been talking about it, I will be a happy man. But hey, we still haven't talked completely about the topic. As I said, hey, let's talk about the problems in Reaper of Souls. So I'm gonna go to the next topic, and I die on the screen there. So we talked about this, Mr. Christian, and that's a very good point you made about how to slowly progress through the so-called invisible time in the game to find these better legendaries. What else can a player do when it comes to endgame? Because as amazing as finding items is, we don't want to make it a grind, because that's exactly what it is right now. Grind is something we kind of have to do, but a good game should not make you feel like you're grinding all the time. So if you're not grinding in the game, what will you be doing in Reaper of Souls? So please elaborate on that, sir.
Well, and that's where I think this addition of these bounties and these adventure modes and all that stuff, all the new Ubers, is really going to be useful. If you get tired of farming, your axe, or farming, Fields of Misery, and that's just to say that the axe will be somewhat different. They could totally change the density of Fields of Misery and make it where we want to farm the cathedral now over and over again.
Okay.
Wow, and I just had a blank. What was the question?
No, that's fine. So you're making an amazing point here that the first thing to do, guys, is if we're playing Diablo, at the core of Diablo is it's all about farming. So Mr. Christian just said, rather than sticking to Fields of Misery all the time, hey, look at me right now. I mean, that's a perfect example. I've played the game for about 1,500 hours, probably more. That's like a questionable amount of time I'll put into this game. But hey, I love it. So rather than just me sticking to Fields of Misery, I have the option to go anywhere. So I guess if I want to ask you that question, as you answered it there, that why not to buff the density of all the areas? Why not to keep this constant? I think they are doing that. So what do you think about the new map system, Christian? Right now, if I want to go to Act 2, I have to press this escape silly button, leave game, do yada yada. It's going to load for about 20 minutes. I'll get angry and I'll walk away. What do you think about the new map system? A point and click. Hey, that place has a bounty. That place is so and so. I want to go to Act 5 straight away. What do you think about this system? Do you think it's something cool?
I think that is going to keep people playing. Honestly, that adds a level of convenience that the game didn't have before. And it's honestly, that could have been one of those things that they just added. That could have been in a patch. I feel like they could have just made me. But I understand you kind of have to bring up the new map, to really abuse it. But the ability to now just go to whatever waypoint from wherever you are, I think is just really, really awesome. Like, that's one thing, when I first saw my first gameplay of Reaper of Souls, I don't own it, so I've watched and read quite a bit about it.
We all have, so yeah.
I think the ability to now just go to whatever waypoint is awesome. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's great. So look at this, guys. The first point we just talked about is farming. So what's coming new in Reaper of Souls, as we can call a different name, but for things very simple, I guess let's just call it Farming 2.0, since that's the theme of the Reaper of Souls, right? Loot 2.0, this 2.0. So let's call it Farming 2.0. And the good thing about it, as we just talked about, if you get bored of a place, all you have to do is open your map, click on a button, and that will take you pretty much everywhere. And hopefully, if the density is okay everywhere, that means you can farm anywhere in the game. Even right now, for people like us who farm all the time, it's not a big change, but it's a change when you look at the long-term, I guess, goals for Reaper of Souls, or your goals in Reaper of Souls. This is something you'll all appreciate. Rather than sticking to one area, you know exactly how it is, you get bored of it, you can wander around. But then again, there's something more to this, which is, I think we're going to get to the next topic of the end game for a Reaper of Souls. That is the bounty system. What do you think about that, Christian? Bounties, how they affect the game and how they're going to make you play. Is that something cool?
I do. I think that's pretty cool. Personally, I think that's going to be the new hotness. How think of like how crib runs have just exploded in popularity. Now that people found out how to just get mass waves of XP and loot and stuff like that. I think bounties are going to be that next wave. In that, there's going to be. I saw a streamer who farmed 100 bags. From bounties and stuff like that.
Hey, since you talked about bags, my friend, why don't you explain us what these bags are exactly for our new friends who've been away from this Diablo game so far. So right now, when you kill someone, all you get is a simple thing. Hey, congratulations, you wasted your time. We've killed this guy. We'll give you about 2,000 gold and about 24k experience. Good luck and come back again. So what's changing in bounties? What do you get, Mr. Christian, when you finish a bounty?
You get lots from a bounty now. You're getting upwards of 200,000 XP. I forget the highest I've seen, and you're also getting about that much in gold also. But in addition to gold, you're getting these little slivers. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on what they're called, but
let's call them fancy magic bags. The name does not matter. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So you get, if you do enough bounties, you go to a merchant or something, and you turn these pieces in for a bag, and it's just a bag of random loot. Okay. You don't know what's in the bag. What you have to do is in your inventory you have this little bag, and what you have to do is you have to click on it and more or less open it.
All right.
And all the loot will fall on the ground for you to inspect, and if you can be like, oh, I can salvage that, or, you know, hey, that's better than mine, or what have
Okay,
you.
so Mr. Renlow is very kind in the chat. He's calling them the crystals or the blood shards. Okay, there we go. So these are other things in the game. So thank you guys. Yeah, perfect thing. So you not only just find XP now, which is again elevated number. That makes sense because you're playing on a higher difficulty. You have people with higher HP. So yeah, of course you're going to get more XP, but you also get a lot of gold. So Christian, if I complete a quest right now, the farmer quest, for example, in Fields of Misery, hey farmer, come and, you know, he says, come and help me, Nephilim, and when you kill these guys, I'll give you 2k gold. Most of the time you're like, come on man, you know, you can do much better than give me 2k gold. So as you said, in Reaper of Souls, that gold amount is going to go very, very high, right? I'm lagging right here. So that gold stack will be bigger, but on top of that, when you finish the bounty, you talk to these merchants, they also give you this random bag of loot. And it's again like the goblin's bag. I think that's what we should call it. That'll be pretty cool. It's basically a goblin's bag. As when a goblin dies, you see all the loot falling on the floor. It's pretty much the same animation there. When you open these bags, all you see is a lot of loot dropping. And of course, they have the chance not only of having good rare items, but you can also find legendaries in there. So doing these bounties, I think, is a very, very big part of it. And since we talked about it earlier, just a few minutes ago, that how you can go to any part of the map right now. You don't have to leave the game, as you saw me. As long as you're sticking to one character, all you have to do is you have to click on the map, and that will allow you to go to a different part of the map, and then you can chase the bounty there. These are these big hit targets. That's what a bounty hunter is, I guess, right? You have these so-called rare monsters in the game right now that right now you don't even care. They have low HP, they don't do anything at all, but later on in Reaper of Souls you will hunt them down. You will track them wherever they are in the whole game, not just in a particular act, but in the pretty much entirety of the game. You kill them, they give you gold, they give you XP, and that is a very cool endgame option, right? So I think that bounties, as Mr. Christian said, would be a pretty amazing thing as time goes by. People would love to, I guess, do this all the time, look for better loot, and it's just fun because it takes you to different places. And also, Mr. Christian, do they also, when you go to an area, do the bounties have a different weather system? Like, if you come to Fields of Misery, would it always look like Fields of Misery, or will it have different color palettes? Because I think that's another change, is it not?
I believe, oh man, I haven't really seen too much on that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did. I think it's very viable for them to do that, and I think it would add a lot. Like, if there's, you know, if I'm out here in the Fields of Misery at nighttime or something, trying to find this elusive frog, you know, to kill for this bounty, I think stuff like that would just be very, very awesome and
it'll just
enticing.
be something extra, right? It'll be fun. You have different color palettes. The place that, even though doesn't look familiar on the normal game, when you're doing bounties, you know, hey man, this is looking different. I'm playing bounties right now, and you can identify that just by little things like these. So that's another cool thing, right? But I guess we're going to move to the next topic now again, guys. We're talking about the topics that concern most people, and we're not kind of answering them right now, but we're giving you what we understand of it. And in the end, I guess we're going to sum it all up, we're going to tie it all up, and we're going to tell you, is this something to worry about for Reaper of Souls, or do you still be excited about the game? So we're talking about endgame, as I said. We talked about the farming, how the farming is going to work, how the areas are all going to be. To add on to farming, we have bounties that allow you to do specific kind of quests. They give you loot, they give you XP, they give you lots of gold. But there's another thing there, which of course is the big elephant in the room, and that is about the new character, which is Crusader, right?
Yes.
So let's get into this character. And again, in the last podcast, we did roughly touch on him, how a Crusader is the new strength character that fills in the role. We did need a strength character simply because we had 2 of each. We had 2 of intelligence, 2 of dexterity. Barbarian was dancing on his own, but here we have Crusader now. So why would a Crusader be so different? And I'm talking about builds and any ideas. What do you think? What would be the playstyle for a Crusader? Will it be a melee character, a ranged character, or would it be like a hybrid character? Because I'd love to get your opinion on this. What do you think about the new character?
Well, I've read up on the Crusader quite a bit, and he's actually as you said, he's a ranged melee. That's how he differs from the Barbarian. The Barbarian is just like pure physical damage.
He's in your face kind of guy, right?
Yes, he's just, I'm gonna beat you to death, and you're gonna watch it happen. The Crusader, I feel, is slightly different, but also the same in some ways. Same in that he does carry that big mace that he plans to walk up in your face and show you one fur. But he also has these other awesome abilities, such as everyone remembers Hammerdin.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even play D2, and I know what Hammerdin is.
So yeah, that's how popular it was.
Yeah. And then he also has other things. He rains down lightning from the sky and all this other stuff. And so I think his ability to be ranged and melee is going to make him super strong. And also, since his main stat is going to be strength, I think he's going to be very hard to kill.
Oh, great. Yeah, because the armor stacking, right? RoS is also making a good point in the chat there, our awesome viewer and my good friend. He's saying that he's not just going to be a strength in your face character. That's something he can definitely do, but he's also a kind of a semi-healing class. Now Monk is the main healer of the group. You have mantras and all that stuff, but I think to underestimate a Crusader in terms of that will be our fault, because Crusader has all these so-called not gonna name them right now, but basically he has so-called these enchantments. They're not really auras, because they kind of are auras in a way, but it's Crusader's take on the 2.0 Paladin version. So he doesn't say mantras, but the idea is he also has some groove buffs, and they can also relate to healing, they can also relate to dealing damage. So he's a good party character, I guess, to add on top of what RoS is saying right now. It's amazing what a Crusader can do. He's a character that can play in melee range. He's a character that can play in your face range, as Christian talked about. I mean, come on, who does not want to see a Crusader carrying a two-handed hammer and a massive shield and just knocking everything around? And he can also play an amazing support role. So with that in mind, we've seen quite a few builds around them. And again, every character does have a mobility skill. So even this character, as Mr. Brendelor is saying right now, he has a horse that leaves a fire trail. I think that's just kind of underestimating it there, sir, because he can do so many more things. That's his movement mobility skill. So he's not just going to be a slow lumbering tank. I guess that's what they're going for. But again, this is Diablo, it's not real life, so they want to make a tank that can pretty much crush everything and move fast. So he's going to be a fast character around the whole battlefield. He can do a variety of roles, he can fit a variety of roles. And just like Monk is right now, Crusader will be something you would like to have in your party just because he's epic. He's a great character.
Yes.
And in terms of build, as you said, you made a very good point there. You've heard of Hammerdin, and it's basically when, if you guys don't know, if you haven't played Diablo 2, it's a spell that allows Paladin or Crusader right now to spin these hammers around him, and without doing anything, he just walks around, and people take a lot of damage from these blessed hammers. So that's one kind of build there is. Any ideas? Of course, we can't talk about builds right now, but hey, because we don't know how the game is going to progress. But the point is, what do you think about builds? What kind of builds are we going to see with Crusader, Mr. Christian? And by that I mean, are we going to see again a mix of builds, or are people going to deviate towards one way? Is it going to be, hey, I want to just make a melee character, or hey, how about I want to try Hammerdin again? So what do you think about Crusaders, like builds and all? Where can they go?
I think they have so many roads. With what I heard from Razy, with the healing aspect of him as well, I think your options as far as builds go are going to be through the roof. Especially at the beginning. At the beginning, I suspect there's going to be a huge influx in Hammerdin just for the nostalgia.
Absolutely.
People are going to be like, oh, I got my hammers back, time to throw them on and see what they do. I think that's going to be really, really, what's the word? It's
going to be loved a little bit more in the beginning.
Right. And then I think once people get over that, then we're really going to see some of these rogue builds coming out of nowhere, and there's going to be tons of options. You're probably going to see some healing melee, so some mix of some heals with some pseudo mantras or whatever they're going to have, and then something where they're going to be able to get in there and put like an AoE heal, so where, say your Firebat's Witch Doctor's getting beat up a little bit, you just go to him and you drop everything right on top of him, and he's going to be, somewhat invincible.
Absolutely.
And especially, I think something like that is going to be really, really strong against, say, like Ubers and these really strong bounties that are going to be coming out.
So he's basically a jack of all trades. That's what they're going for. That hey, you can play as Barb. That's good. You have all the old characters, but hey, we're bringing you new expansion, and why not to try a jack of all trades, which will be Crusader, right? But they want to make Crusader very viable. Now, this could go into, if you can remember, guys. every time an expansion comes, initially the characters are pretty OP, and I'm not talking about balancing gear and all that stuff and balancing characters themselves. Maybe the Crusader will be OP, but hey, who cares? In the beginning, when you want to try a new character, as Mr. Christian said, you want to pretty much destroy everything with it. You want to go and help out a friend who's in trouble. You want to be the guy who's to the rescue, the so-called superhero, right? And I think if Crusaders do that, which I'm sure they will, it's going to be awesome. But on top of Crusaders, again, this next thing about endgame for Reaper of Souls is, which of course ties into the theme of Crusader, because he's of the Zakarum faith, and that's a topic of another day. I think we're going to cover in the next live stream, or maybe the one after that, about the whole history of Diablo 3, because I'm really a big fan of it. But right now, Crusader returns back home and he sees everything in peril, and this takes us to Act 5, and the theme of Act 5, everything about Act 5, is Mr. Malthael. So Christian, what do you think about Malthael, man? What do you think about Act 5 in general? You've seen a few things, I'm sure. You've seen people play Act 5. Any opinions, any thoughts on it? Is it exciting?
Well, I'll be honest with you about this. I am trying to not know a lot about Act 5 because I still want to be surprised.
Oh, yes.
And have that, oh, wow. Who would have known? There's a couple things I know from just that cinematic they released. We know that, and this isn't a spoiler. If you haven't seen the video by now, something's probably wrong with you. But we do know that Malthael is Teriel's brother, so we can imagine that there's going to be some tie-ins in the story between those two. And we may even go as far as being with Teriel in the boss fight. I have no idea.
Oh, one can imagine, right?
But
it's
right. But I'm honestly purposely trying to stay out of the storyline part of it because I want to preserve it for my own enjoyment.
Definitely, I'm with you. I personally haven't seen it, but I think the theme, if you go into the sidelines of that, in the trailer we see, let's just put it, Malthael does some funny things, some horrible things actually, to people that are near him. Tyrael, of course, is kind of immune to it, but you see people turning into these weird soul zombies. I don't even know the word for it, because we do see zombies right now on the screen, and that's Weeping Hollow in Act 1. But you see different kind of possession in Act 5. So what's that about, Christian? About this? I'm sure, again, these are speculations, or I guess we do know the answer, but we don't want to spoil the Reaper of Souls. Awesome hype for my friends here. But the point I'm trying to make is the new atmosphere for Act 5. What do you think? Where is it going back to? Because Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, and I'm not gonna come and say, hey, you know, D2 graphics were better. I guess that's a topic we no point in getting into because you don't get much out of it. But the point I'm trying to make is right now it's very colorful. It still looks perilous, you know. I mean, it's Diablo and you're fighting hordes of monsters, but in terms of darkness for the game, the way that the game feels like, the atmosphere, the music, what do you think about that, Christian? Is it still something pretty different, or do you still think it's part of Diablo? Because I think the atmosphere has gone darker, and I absolutely love it. It's going back to that gothic feel of Diablo. You have death lurking around the corner, you have these zombies. So any thoughts on that?
I'm going to agree, because I think because of this new evil that's presented itself, I think it wouldn't be accurate if everything was brighter or the same. You know what I mean? Like, I think because of this new darkness, it almost has to become evil and dark. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and it's going to be Malthael type of dark, right? Because Malthael, as we all know, he's an angel. He used to be one of the angels. He was Tyrael's brother, and he was not. We're not sure if he was his blood brother, because they're all angels. You know, they're not born out of a human flesh, as we all are, according to the mythology. They are these brothers in a way that they all had the same cause. They believed in the same thing. They wanted to keep the evil away from the world, all the good stuff. But then, for some reason, Malthael went rogue. We kind of know the reason, but then again, that's why we have Reaper of Souls. That's going to tell us what happened to Malthael, why he went astray, and he comes back, and for some reason, he hates humans. He hates the so-called Nephilim. He wants this so-called balance, but his balance means something in his own way. So he has this twisted sense of righteousness, which he's going strong by. And again, he is not Diablo. He is not any of the evils, so you don't see the demonic theme in the game anymore, but you see some kind of angelic undead theme, which I think is very fascinating. It's just amazing. So I think the third thing we're talking about will be the new act as well, including the new character. So when it comes to endgame, of course you're going to have new bounties and all that good stuff, but you're also going to have a new storyline. Most people are looking forward to it, but as I said, it's not going to be an end game option here. This is something you'll play for 5-6 hours. You'll do all the little side quests, you'll find all the little lore books, and that'll be it. But I think getting a new act and a new story, which is very compelling, the one we we just talked about, I think it's going to be awesome. So that's I think that's another part of Reaper of Souls, which I'm very excited about. But I think we're going to go to the last topic now for Diablo 3, Mr. Christian, and then we're again, move to something else. But the question, guys, for all of you and, I guess Mr. Christian, is what about clans? Because we don't know much about this system here. Something cooperative, something bigger than just a 4-player party. Blizzard has been hinting about this. They talked about this in BlizzCon. They still keep asking us on the forums, guys, if you have any ideas on what you want in a clan system, how you would like to see it. Give us a few ideas. But how do you think the clan is going to plan out? Is this going to be something along the lines for a good endgame? Do you think endgame for Diablo 3 deserves a clan, or is this something more of a gimmick, Christian? Any thoughts on that, my friend?
I think, honestly, what they may be doing, I mean, who's to say? One thing I think would be awesome is if they just tore a page right out of the Call of Duty book. And what I mean is, with this latest Call of Duty, they introduced all these clan operations and all of these things that a clan can do together to level up, per se, the clan and advance the clan's experience and all that stuff. I think if they made something like that in Diablo, there would be such an influx of clan participation. And I think that would definitely make this not a gimmick and actually something serious.
Awesome. So that's an amazing point you made, because I've never heard anyone use that analogy here to bring it, and it's an amazing idea. I'm with you. The way Call of Duty has included clan system, if you're offline, if you're online, does not matter. You always have things to do. You find another clan, you actually make your own clan, and then you have these certain set objectives you can do, and then clans can compete against each other if they want to. They can organize a so-called official battle, which could be PvP, but hey, let's not get into that. That's another elephant in the room, which most people ignore, I guess. But at least clans, in a way, what we're trying to go with the fact here, guys, is Diablo, again, and I've always said that, and I'll still say it, and maybe some people will not like me for it, I truly support the idea of Diablo 3 being an always online game. Now, the problem I have with this, though, is not the game being online, but the service being slightly bad, that my awesome friends over the hardcore servers get these silly disconnects and lag, which leads to them, losing the... I guess that's more of a tragedy that goes with it. But in terms of the sheer idea, the simple idea of having always online, I think games like Diablo, you play on your own, that's fair enough. People can cheat, people can do all sorts of things, and that's okay with me. But if you play in a group, you see this chat window here, and you see people talking, you interact with people, I think that's an amazing experience for a gamer. It makes the game... It makes you feel that, hey, you're part of something big. You have all these people in the chat right now. You can talk to them and they can interact with you. And if clan is introduced, I think it's going to take it into one step, further. If Mr. Christian likes to make a clan, and if you guys are all a fan of Mr. Christian, I know I am, you would like to talk to Mr. Christian and you'll say, hey, can I be in your clan? And it'll be something more than this chat, more than just that little feeling there. It's not just about hey, I want to have that label. A label is good, but I think a good clan system, in my opinion, would be you join our clan, you join, let's say, Monk Mafia right here, which is an awesome thing my friend here, Mr. Christian does. You join Monk Mafia, and when you become a part of Monk Mafia, you help these... when you join them, you're offered certain services by these awesome players in Monk Mafia that, hey, if you want power leveling service, we can help you out. We have some basic gear, we can help you out. What if you want to do a run with us? You can't do Torment 3 or 4. We can give you a free ride. What if the legendaries we find are not just going to be shared in people in the party, but what if you can share these legendaries, not the high-end ones, I'm not talking about the set legendaries, but the basic talked about earlier, the simple ones. You can actually share them with people in your clan. So the question again for you is, Christian, what do you think is something they can add or you would like to see in the current clan system that, it would be useful? Because we can't expect too much out of the clan system. I'll say it straight from the beginning that it's an idea that Blizzard is trying right now. Reaper of Souls will introduce a clan system. It's not going to perfect it. It wouldn't be this end-all be-all perfect system. So to go in there with very high expectation, thinking that it's going to have a new interface, a new window, fancy graphics and all that, will be a bit too much. But what's the minimum thing you would like to see from a clan system? I would love to know.
Well, I've actually played quite a bit of competitive gaming in my gaming career, if you want to call it that. So one one thing that you really want in a clan environment or a clan, anything that has that 4-letter word on it, when people read that 4-letter word, clan, in gaming, they already get a level of what they expect. So I think in order for them to, and obviously they're not it'll be very tough for them to hit a home run on their first try.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I don't expect them to, and I'm not even sure if they expect to, but I'm really admiring their gumption to give it a shot. But things you want to have in the clan system are clan staples. Stuff like communication. They got that down. You can chat with anyone in the clan at any time. You know, the clan channel, stuff like that. I think stuff like that is key, is very important. Another thing I just thought of this would be fun was, what if there were competitions inside the clan? You know, what if like something like leaderboards within for each clan? Like if I said if there was a leaderboard for, say, speed runs or something like that, like, and I said, yeah, my monk did act 1 in 37 minutes. Like, wow, I'm number 1 in the clan.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Something competition-wise, because people crave competition.
Definitely, yes.
But as far as things that they have to have, you know, or things that would make it good to start out with, communication's one. Trying to think here, maybe some way to share items. I do like the idea that you said, maybe like when you find a legendary, it's actually clan-wide instead of maybe party-wide. One problem I may see with that was, well, if I got 1,000 people in my clan,
exactly.
And then, well, what's the point of getting rid of the auction house? Because I basically have a mini auction house right here. You don't understand?
And that can create a problem there, absolutely. So it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? This whole clan idea.
In a sense, it definitely is. So I think with the right moderation and the right tweaks and the right, research and stuff like that, they can really, really knock this out of the park. And as a I'll say ex-competitive gamer, that's one thing I really, really am going to enjoy.
So some kind of leaderboard. So that's what Mr. Christian is getting to. If you have a system where you can track any kind of progress, and it doesn't have to be super serious, as we said, you can have 5 sections. One would be, this player has the most amount of hours into the game. This player has the highest Paragon level character. This player has a maximum amount of achievement points. This player has the highest amount of damage. Simple things like that, I think, will be something that will push people a little bit further, to play the game. Because the best example is, if there's there's very little to do in the game, there's very little human interaction. The problem you see, as I'll show you right now, is I have 17 people online right now, and my list is full with 100 people. That means 83 people roughly are not playing the game. They are outside because they might have been away. Some of them have been out for a few days. Others have been away for weeks, months, days. It can almost a year, a few people. So I think that's something that you can easily avoid. If you have something to do for a group, if you have a group communal experience, doing anything in the game, it'll be good. And yeah, definitely, if you can organize some competitions, and if you can do something in the clan itself, and I think that actually relies on the clan itself. So when we're going to make a clan, Raze and I and Mr. Bob here, Zariscop, we've talked about this all the time, a clan that we're going to have for Reaper of Souls, if we organize, say, guys, next Tuesday we send out a little broadcast here, something which is very similar to this thing here, as you can see right now in the game. We send out our broadcast, guys, I'll be doing this and this, would you like to join me? Raze is like, no, I want to do, I'll be doing some power leveling. I have 3 slots available. Anyone wants to join in. So basically you'll have different ranks in the clan. Not just ranks. Ranks is a pretty harsh word. By that I mean you have different positions in this whole clan system, different broadcasting areas where you can give out your ideas, and basically it'll offer everything for pretty much everyone, or anything or everything for everyone. So if you want to do power leveling, if you want to do some bounties, it's all there at your hand's reach. So I think that's something will be very good. A simple broadcast system here that different people in the clan would be able to share. So if they have any problem, they can post a message. We can look at it. Right now, if people leave it, a little tag here like I have, everyone in my game can see it. Everyone in my friend list. So that'll be a little cool addition as well. But I guess we are kind of talking about clan for a little bit more. We'll see how it comes along. We're very excited about it.
Go ahead. I was going to say, there's so much that they can do with this, and there's so much people are going to want from this. So I think they're going to have to tread carefully so to not so to pick the right aspects that they involve in their game. So that's what I'm not necessarily worried about it, because I'm just like you. The fact that they've even made a game is amazing, and I'll play it no matter what they do or don't have. But I think to really get this right, it may take a little bit of research and a little bit of time to really lock down what they want. So.
Yeah, again, we'll get into this. So again, guys, the whole topic we started today was the concerns about the end games. Just to summarize it all up, really, and we've pretty much covered all the points, and now I guess we're going to tie ends together and kind of make some sense, because we have been covering each topic individually, and you'd be wondering what the heck are these guys talking about. So the question in the beginning was, what would be the end game for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls? Because right now, as you can see, the only end game I have, and I'm sure all of you have, is just farming in Fields of Misery, getting that XP, and that's about it. And again, we haven't even talked about the other aspect of Ubers and all. I think we should have. We can touch on that as well at some other point, Mr. Christian, of how the Ubers 2.0 will be cool. But needless to say, we have talked about a few points here, and I'll sum them all up now. So the first thing would be the farming. The farming is improving. You'll have different areas. You'll have the map system where you can jump from any place to the other. If you crave a different area to farm, hopefully they'll all have a similar-ish monster density, similar kind of challenge. Maybe it gets slightly harder, but the point is, if you want to try to farm somewhere else, it's not going to be like you'll be wasting your time. So farming will always be there. But the next big thing they've added, of course, which people are looking into, is bounties. Now, rifts are something that are there, and again, it's not been set into stone yet, so we're not going to talk about it in this podcast, but what we do know very well for now is the bounties, and they add another amazing big dimension to the gameplay. You have different graphics, different environments you get into, you have different objectives that give you these little loots, and it leads to you having a completely different experience and something that just transcends beyond the act you're farming in. It's more of a community experience. I think you get together with your friends, you look for these bounties, and it's almost like a race against time, but a race against yourself. So that's a very good addition, and it's also the way, if you want to find maximum amount of legendaries, all the good stuff, you want to play bounties. The other thing that I guess adds on to that is the mainstream stuff that Diablo people have been advertising, and that's the new character and the new act. Crusader is something we're all going to play. Hopefully he's going to be OP, because we'd all like an OP character. In the beginning, we have no problems. Our friend asked us this earlier. So I'll ask you again, Mr. Christian, a side talk question. Are you concerned that if Mr. Crusader is OP, is that a bad thing or a good thing? What do you think? Are you worried that everyone will play Crusader?
Well, besides the initial, oh my god, new character, I want to play him. I think once people are going to get over the hype, you know, immediately, or not necessarily immediately, but eventually, and then if there's any outstanding problems or outstanding ratios, you know, for power or anything like that, I'm pretty sure Blizzard's going to address it pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Because let's say, for instance, they do introduce PvP, and they see, because I'm sure they monitor and track all kinds of stuff that we aren't even aware of, and if they notice that Crusader is winning 95% of all PvP battles.
Yeah, just like Witch Doctor is right now.
They're gonna look into that and be like, why? They're like, what is making him so strong? And they may decide to maybe nerf him. I think
so they can address it.
I think there are definitely going to be Crusader nerfs at some point. For something. Like, I think that they can release a character perfect.
Yeah, that's a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
Right,
so maybe in the very beginning, I do suspect he's going to be quite strong and quite fun. But I think eventually, maybe a month or so down the road, they're going to be like, okay, let's bump, you know, this down just a touch, and maybe level him out with the other characters. So. That's what I think.
So even if they get buffed, we're not really concerned, because at the end of it, you see me playing as a wizard. I'm sure you have a barbarian, but you also play with other classes. So the choice really goes to the player. If you enjoy Crusader, that's awesome. As Mr. Wolf just kindly said, everybody will try Crusader. But at the end of it, other characters are also getting a buff, you know, in terms of skills, damage, and all that cool stuff. They're also getting one new each skill, so it's not just that, hey, it's only going to be Crusader for Reaper of Souls. So that's good, I guess. Again, to relate that to the end game, we have variety in form of a new character and also in the form of new act. Now, Legendary, since we talked about that, and that was the very first topic, and that's why I saved it for the last, because this is kind of longer to sum up in a way, that you have different tiers of Legendary and they all have a set amount of drop rate. Again, it's not going to be a number set in stone. It's still, Diablo is a game that is based on RNG, which means random number generator. I'm sure you all know that. And it basically tells you a chance of finding a legendary. Now that chance is going to be smaller and smaller when it comes to finding the more awesomer legendaries, and they have different tiers of legendaries. Your set items right now, like the one I'm wearing, the Zunimasa set, these items will be harder to find when compared to a Mempo, and a Mempo will be harder to find, let's say, when compared to a Chantora's offhand. So you have different tiers of these legendaries, and something like I've got in my chest right now, a Sledge of Atskilling, that will be even easier to find. So even within legendaries, they have these tiers, and they all relate to the drop rates. So what that means for you in the end game is you will be busy finding these legendaries, because there are more number of legendaries. All the existing legendaries have been improved. They've been made competitive to a point where no matter what you do, every single legendary, I guess, will be useful to you in some or the other way. So legendaries are there as well. And then we have the clan system that has potential of being amazing. It's not going to add too much to the end game in a direct sense, but it's going to add to the community side, which in turn could really mean the difference between you playing the game for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years.
Yes.
So there's that. And since I'm just going to go on the speculation here, Mr. Christian, I've always said this. So number 60 sounded a bit weird when the game came out, right? Why level 60? You know, come on, man. You know, 60 is not a round number. If you wanted to go for a number, 50 sounded cool. I guess 60 is a round number, but you do understand it's not that pleasing to the eyes and ears. So what happened? Reaper of Souls comes out. You get that number jumped to 70. Maybe does that mean we're going to get a new expansion, Christian? I think the answer would be yes. Maybe in the next year or so, it's not just about Reaper of Souls, it's also about these guys building up that platform, building up these clans, building up this system of legendaries, bounties, all that stuff that you can apply maybe to the next expansion. A man can dream, right?
Ooh. Oh yeah. So, I like that. I like that idea. That's good theory crafting. And I think through my playing and through leveling up characters, I realized why it's 60. Instead of 45 or 50. It's because of the number of skills and runes that each character has.
Yeah.
Because when you level, you unlock this skill or this rune, and they had to have the levels enough to unlock everything.
Absolutely.
Level. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I personally think there's such a weird number of 60. It's just... Yeah, and also you went back to you said you had mentioned that each character is getting a new skill. Well, during my time in the public test room, which actually wasn't very long because for some reason now my computer cannot install it, but each character is actually getting 3, maybe 4 skills now. 1 active skill and a few passives.
Yep.
Things are getting. I saw the monk has a few more passive abilities now.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited because I love passives. I think passives are awesome. I mean, actives do the damage, but I feel like
the real hidden secrets, you know, the damage you deal, the survivability, all comes from passive. And you don't have to press the button. I mean, how awesome is that? You don't have to worry about, hey, when am I going to press the button? Is it on cooldown? Nope. Your passive's always there, so they're good.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to try all the new skills that for each class that are coming out.
All right. So guys, I think we're going to wrap up this topic, and I'll probably throw you all a curveball here. So the question again, I'll say it again, what is the end game for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls? All these things that we've talked about, some of you might say, you know, rifts are going to get boring, bounties are going to be boring, your legendaries, you might not find that many of them, maybe you will find, maybe they're not that good. But to me, and this is what I'm going to tell you what my version of endgame is, and I'm going to ask Mr. Christian as well. So endgame, I think, is a word that is very specific. It's not a word that you can use to address the whole game itself, because the way you play the game is different from the way I play the game. Now, right now, the difference is only in a few ways, and that goes with, hey, how much gold I have, how much items I can farm, and what kind of damage I am sitting on. So Diablo 3 right now, no. it's not that good. I mean, look at all the monks. Almost all of them carry Echoing Fury. Look at all the barbarians. Either they have a Scorn or again an Echoing Fury. If you see a Witch Doctor, they all wear the same chest. Almost all wizards have Chantoro sets unless they are doing, you know, Archon. But the point is, there is no individuality there in characters. They all play pretty much the same. And so the endgame, the definition of the so-called personal endgame, does not exist right now. And that's why we keep going to this fact that, hey, I want a little bit more in the game. But here's what I think, guys, truly of an endgame. Now, most of you all know me. I'm a very silly guy. I make a few builds. I mean, that's just what I'm known for in this very big community in a very, very small way. If I've done something in this community, and I don't think I've done anything at all, it's actually coming up with builds. So I think this is where I want to go to, really. The end game right now isn't there because you only have very few builds. I do make builds. Most of them are for, I shouldn't say most of them, almost all of them are for MP10, but some of them are fun oriented. The other ones are efficient, so something like Firepower Monk is good, this Fire Nice Wizard is good. But if I show you a Mirrored Storm Wizard, you'll say, yeah, it's an awesome build, but it does not it can't kill people. And that again goes back to the end game for Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, or the way it is right now. You can't do much because you have the same looking character, you have the same skill, you log in every day, and your barbarian is always going to have the Rat of the Berserker, Spinny Barb, as I call them, ballerinas. They dance around and you don't do anything at all. But come Reaper of Souls, we have all these awesome legendaries. Christian just kindly talked about the new passives you have, even a new active skill each character class has, and the promise that the Blizzard has given us. And this promise kind of is true because people have been testing the beta, that almost every skill has been buffed. So what does this mean for every player is, earlier you wanted to have, let's say, a differentish character by buying a different item. You would feel happy that, hey, I found this so and so called axe because it makes my monk do this. But in Reaper of Souls, you're going to get items that are going to support your build. So what does that mean? There'll be two types of build, and this is the end game for me. So this is my answer for what the end game for Reaper of Souls would be, at least personally for me, because as I said, it's a journey that's going to be different for each and every one of you, because we all have different things we want from the Reaper of Souls. Some people want to have legendaries. I'm definitely on the same boat there. I would like to have legendaries, but I want new legendaries because I can make new builds. And talking about builds, guys, I think there'll be two types of builds, and we did discuss that very briefly, which we're going to get into right now with Mr. Christian. Is the builds will be of two types in nature. One will be builds that are completely dependent on certain legendaries, as in if you don't have legendary X, the build is not going to work for you. Something like a perma strafe demon hunter. You know there's a skill called strafe for demon hunters. Most of you might not even know, and again that goes back to the point that's how bad the build diversity is right now. But basically there are certain skills that a skill in demon hunter called strafe, which allows you to spin around and you do damage. But if you find a legendary in Reaper of Souls, it allows you to spin around consistently and the resource cost is basically negligible. So a build like that is not possible without a specific legendary. So that makes the very first type of the builds for the Reaper of Souls, and that is builds that are entirely dependent on legendaries. Without the legendary, the build would not be possible. And there's the other type which we kind of have right now, and that is builds that work completely on their own, but if you find legendary X, for example, the build would be slightly better. A few good examples are, for example, the wizard you're seeing right now. If I give her Triumvirate, it has elemental damage, it's going to be good. The other example, a Firepower Monk, is very awesome, but if you give him a Burning Axe of Sankis, the build becomes even better. So these are the two kinds of build you'll be able to play, which will be something amazing which we don't have right now. So Mr. Christian, what do you think about this? Do you think that builds are going to be the end game, or do they have a possibility of being an end game for Reaper of Souls? Can a person have their own build? Like right now there's only one build for Barbarian. Can Christian have another build and I have another build? And can we both do equally well in Reaper of Souls? Because that's, I think, a very important question in terms of longevity of the game. What do you think about that?
I think the answer is yes, and I will explain why. Say, and I've actually talked to other people about this similar topic, and I think, say I'm playing and I'm using, we'll just say Trigen on a monk. We'll just use monk for example. If I'm using Trigen for my monk, and I find, okay, what I'm trying to say is, I think legendaries will define builds. I'm playing Trigen. I find this object that says has some weird thing, such as like Lashing Tail Kick deals 100% weapon damage as splash damage in 5 yards or something like that. I think that's going to make me change my build to abuse this legendary as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I think depending on legendaries that we find, that will definitely hinder our builds.
Okay.
So, but as far as builds being the end game and what you said, yes, I totally think it's possible for us to run different builds depending on the legendaries that we find and still be very strong. Because you may have that burning axe, but I may not have a burning axe.
Yeah.
So why would I run fire damage when I'm not geared for it?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I think that in that sense, the gear that we find and or craft even is going to be very, very good for builds. So.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, my friend, is that yeah, I guess these builds, one type is kind of clear, and that is they'll be dependent on items, right? If you want to run a certain specific build that can only be made possible by an item, then the chances are you will definitely have, if you have that item, you want to run that build. But if I haven't found that item yet, then I can't do it. You know, it's something that is just not possible. But what about the other kinds of builds, the type of builds that, you know, you can still work with them, they're still good, but if you add a certain type of legendary to your mix, that will make things easier. Again, going back to the analogy we gave earlier about things like Cinder Coat, you have a certain skills that, you know, do certain amount of damage, but a Cinder Coat will increase so and so damage. Or even, as you said about the Lashing Tail Kick, which is a very good example. A Lashing Tail Kick does an AoE just around the monk, but what if it allows you to cover, let's say, 17, 5, 10 yards? The build would still work, but if you want to make it more efficient, I think you can include that legendary in the game. And really, sky's the limit as I say that, because every legendary has a unique affix. Some of them are pretty cool, like we can go on the side note here, like Gladiator Gauntlets. I'm sure you must have seen that, right, Mr. Christian, where if you earn a Massacre bonus, you have gold raining from the sky. That sounds sounds cool, and it looks, you know, cool as well. But that again is not an essential item for a build. You can add it to the build. So you want to make a build that is good in splash damage. It deals a lot of AoE damage. So every time you kill one, you kill a lot of people around him, and that keeps the chain going, and that lets you to get a Massacre easily when compared to a Firebat's Witch Doctor. That's a very good example I think I can give right now. So if you're running a build like Firebat, you can never get a Massacre bonus. It's just something that the build does not support, because you're killing monsters individually. It's an amazing build. It deals a lot of damage, but you can't do splash damage with it at all. But when it comes to you know, builds like Ursa's Might, yeah, definitely, yeah, you can cause some chaos and you can get some Massacre bonus. So you want to give your Ursa's Might Witch Doctor that kind of Gladiator Gauntlet, and it's going to support him with the build and all sorts of cool things, really. So I think builds, I'm not saying it's going to be the end game, but I'm saying for every person who's after something, and for a guy like me who loves to make builds, that's what I'm looking forward to for Reaper of Souls. And if I put that in perspective and that in mind, yes, I would love to. I would absolutely love to I guess I can't wait for Reaper of Souls, if I want to put it that way. And that would be my end game for you. So the point I'm trying to make is no matter how you play, no matter what you do, Reaper of Souls has something for you. And it's going to be something that you really want to play for a long time rather than, you know, a few hours or so. So I guess that would be it.
I agree, and I'm sure they thought of all this. You know, maybe the day after Diablo 3 was released, they're like, "All right, we're doing an expansion. Here's what we're gonna do." And I think they have so much in store for us that we don't even. That's not on the beta. Like, I think they have so much in store. I really hope they just blow our minds with all this stuff.
I'm with you, mate. Definitely. I really hope they do something that is spectacular, to say the least, huh? But anyways, it looks like, guys, this is Diablo for you. My Diablo just crashed right now.
Oh, no.
So here we go. We are on the screen. I'll run some other game, but hey, come on. This is an unofficial podcast. If everything works fine, then I think we're doing something wrong, right, Christian? But I think
I would agree.
We did end up our topic here about the main talk, which was about Reaper of Souls. That the end game is something that each person desires, and Blizzard is offering something for each and every one of you. If you just like to farm, you have those farming things. If you want to go for bounties, if you want to go for maximum legendary chance, you have bounties. If you want to try a new character, you have Crusader for you. And if the game can last for more than 6 months, which I'm very sure, I'm very confident that it will last for that time, then I think I've got my money's worth. So I will definitely be picking up Reaper of Souls, and I know Christian will be, because we'll be streaming here, guys.
Yes.
And yeah, it's going to be an awesome thing. So let me see if I can start any other games, so to keep you guys entertained. What kind of games do I have here? Let me have a look. But that was pretty strange, huh? My game just crashed for no reason. I can play chess. Guys, come on, Hermit. You guys, I'm very, very bad at chess.
And,
we'll move
and touching again on endgame, I feel like there's the extremely high possibility that, excuse me, endgame for each person is going to be different.
Exactly. That's an amazing point you're making there, mate. Yeah. That the endgame is something you want to have on your own. It's something I think should be sacred to you in a way. It should be something that you want to play, you know, on your own all the time. So yeah, I think in terms of that, we are going to be happy. So we'll be streaming, guys, a lot. We love Diablo. And again, the point of this whole conversation was we did not want it to make this topic about, hey, we're pro players. And I don't want to use that word like too much, because that just makes it sound arrogant. By pro, we mean, I guess, we stream the game. We play a lot. We love to share it with you. For us, guys, it's basically Christmas all year round till Reaper of Souls is there, because we'll be playing the game. The concern was, the whole idea was... was about people who don't play the game that often. Is it giving you something to come back to the game? And if you play the game, is it something that you'd be interested in all the time? So I'm going to start a new game, guys. Sorry for the few minutes of pause. Let's see if I can play Dante's Inferno. That would be good. Or DMC, I think it's called. Raze is saying hide the dash files. I don't have any files, but here we go. Mr. Nitro's here. Guys, we have another awesome celebrity here of our awesome Twitch channel. We have Mr. Nitro, who is a fellow Monk Mafia guy. He's an amazing monk. He's a streamer just like we all are. So yeah, good times. Okay, the game's running fine. I think you all can see the game, can't you? Look at this, Mr. Christian. We got this sorted, my friend.
Alright. I like to hear.
And it's actually perfect, because we finished the talk about Diablo 3 and there it is.
Yeah. For something bad happening, it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah. So guys, let me know if you can see the game and all. I'll start playing the game a little bit. Let's go for this. So you'll see me die a lot, but hey, the point is now, since we talked about superheroes and Nephilims and all the cool things that Diablo has to offer, a new hero, let's change the topic to something superhero-like. I guess superheroes on their own. The cool thing, the whole mythology behind superheroes, I'm sure we all watch films. We're all, at deep inside our heart, when we were kids, I know when I was, I always wanted to be some kind of superhero. And at the heart of being a superhero, you know, when you're a kid, you don't really care about saving the world. I guess that's what something Spider-Man taught you, right, guys? You know, with power come responsibility, all that cool stuff. But to change the topic from Diablo's heroes to the real-life superheroes, and by real life, I mean the comic superheroes, let's talk about superhero powers, Mr. Christian. So I'm going to throw the curveball on you again, sir. Tell me, what kind of superhero power would Mr. Christian like to have in the game? Or not in the game, in the real life, sorry. You can pick any hero you want. What kind of superhero power allures you the most? So if you were given the magic wish by a genie or whoever you'd like to see, what superpower?
There's so many. One of my favorite superheroes, or one of my favorite abilities that any superhero has ever had was the Green Lantern. I think the ability to wear a ring and basically conjure anything you want from this ring is something awesome. Because he can fly, he can manipulate objects, he can you know, destroy things with his, you know, he can make all kinds of stuff from the ring. And that to me is almost the pinnacle. Obviously something like Superman is, you know, like the pinnacle, because like nothing can touch like Superman.
Of course,
you know what
everyone
I mean?
can say a boring answer, hey, I want to be Superman. Come on, but you know, Superman's yeah, I think he's too talked about. And actually, we're going to throw a wrench in that little plan later on, because I really want to talk about Superman. But yeah, so Green Lantern, that's an amazing choice, right? He is something that, he's a guy that can conjure pretty much anything from his thoughts. And I do apologize, because I have seen mainly Green Lantern through Justice League cartoons, right? That's where I got my Green Lantern info from. So Hellbration, a guy like Green Lantern, with all the things that are in the world, he makes the most silly objects all the time. So I'm basically throwing a wrench in your plan. He's gonna make a little hammer. He's gonna make, I don't know, a train and all that stuff. Why can't he think of something cooler to make? Wouldn't that be awesome? Don't you think? Like, he comes up with all the worst kind of like ideas. You have the power to think of anything, and the ring will summon whatever you want for you. That's amazing. But all he comes up with is really the touch and go kind of silly thing. So, what are your thoughts about that? Since you're a big fan of Green Lantern, help us out
I
there.
think that depends on the mind behind the ring.
Exactly, right? So are we going to call Mr. Green Lantern a little bit, I'm not just going to say not very smart? Are we going with that?
We could say creative.
Less creative.
Because if it were me with the ring, I could create some pretty nifty things, I'm sure.
All right. So the superpower you'd like to have is to be able to summon anything at your wish, or would you like to convert into something on your own wish? Because Ray's is making a good point in the chat there, that, you know, if you say Superman, you get like 30 powers, and, you know, buy one get one 20. You know, it's about just one single power. So I guess to narrow the whole search down, what about a power like no, not a power like, sorry. What about one power, like you can fly, you can levitate, you can read minds? What about that? What do you think about, you know,
just like, so one power.
Specific superpower? Tricky one.
X-ray vision, I think.
Okay, okay, let me ask you a question there. And sorry guys, I am kind of, basically this is just a meme, you know, just chatting silly things. So X-ray vision, all right? Why X-ray vision? Would you like to work in the airport security or something? Because that's the only thing I can think from that. It's cool and all, or are you thinking something sinister here?
Well, I think I say X-ray vision for self-preservation, and I say self-preservation in that, say I want to know if I'm being snuck up on or something of that nature. Say I don't feel comfortable at my current position, wherever it may be. If I could just turn around and I see that nobody's even in my neighborhood per se, and I think there should be a range. I think, like, obviously I shouldn't be able to look at X-ray vision 30 miles away, because my eyes can't even see that
that would be
far.
super sight in a way. You want X-ray vision that is, hey, I can see 50 yards ahead, I can see 200 meters away, but that's how the X-ray vision will work. I mean, it's not going to be a universal sight. See, I like that. Very good. So, what are you going to do with that superpower? That's the next question for you. Mr. Major Monkey, by the way, amazing name, my friend. He wants super speed. And Ray says Captain Hindsight. Oh, that's a topic we'll get into in a minute.
I love that one.
Captain Hindsight. But anyway, so the superpower you have, which will be X-ray vision, what would you like to do with it in the world? It doesn't have to be nice. It doesn't have to be noble at all. I mean, I'm all about having fun.
Well,
so what would you like to do with that superpower? Any plans?
Well, despite the obvious for a male, with X-ray vision, I just think it'd be cool, you know, to dissect things with my eyes.
All right.
You know, if I maybe with that vision, I have learned to count how many jelly beans are in the jar.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Because now I can see all of them, and I can now just count them, sort of like a Rain Man. I think, you know, I think a lot will come from having.
All right. So you could be a scientist then, Mr. Christian, right? You could be employed by, you could do some atomic physics and some really good bio-nanotechnology at the cutting edge of all things by, I like that idea.
And also, I could put X-ray machines out of business.
Oh yeah, there's that.
I could be like, oh dang, or if I hurt my if I trip and fall and it feels like I hurt my ankle, I can be like, oh no, nothing's broken. You know, instead of going and paying a doctor to throw a
I'm with you.
An X-ray. So I mean, I don't know. That was the first thing that came to my head. That would be really just different and cool.
No, definitely.
Anyone could say.
Be able to fly.
Not knocking anyone's preference for superpower by any means. But anyone could say super speed or something like that. But X-ray vision, not many people think of X-ray vision. I don't think.
Cool. So I guess I'll tell you mine, what I'd like to, and please, by all means, I would like you to completely insult my idea, because that's the whole idea. That's what I did to you. Time for revenge. So that's what I would like to do, guys. I would like to have a power that would allow me to see. Or I guess to feel everything there is in the universe, Or actually, no, I'm going to change it right now on the spot. I would like to have a superpower that allows me to not be affected by the forces at hand. The 4 forces that exist in the universe. Maybe I'm going too nerdy here right now. But a superpower that allows me to not feel gravity. A superpower that allows me to not feel electromagnetism. Not allow me to feel the forces between atoms. And see, I'm being cheeky with a superpower. Because if I have this superpower, I can actually traverse the whole universe. I can see all things around, and I'll be able to, you know, I'll be able to travel vast distances, and I'll be able to know it all, see it all. At least that's my stupid plan, anyways.
So sort of like an omnipresence.
Yeah, see, no, I guess presence is a word that allows you to be everywhere. It's going to be like, hey, if I want to travel, omnipresence is you being ever watchful, ever present, that kind of thing. To me, it's going to be something like, hey, if I want to, right now, if I want to switch a button in my mind, and if I want to go and see what's in the heart of the sun, I can actually go and turn this so-and-so thing off in my body, so I can get rid of gravity. Even though if I go to the sun, the heat's going to kill me. Maybe if I want to traverse in the universe, it allows me to become immune to gravity and all that stuff. So I would like to do that, really. What do you guys think about that? Is that good, or is that something stupid?
That's very well thought out.
Hey, it took me 3 seconds to think it, so thank you for being too kind. But
the problem I have with how, I think it was the way you presented it. You said to not feel gravity, to not feel
absolutely, to not feel
electromagnetics. Now that wouldn't mean that it's not happening to you. The way maybe you presented it was like, I like to be numb. To everything.
Absolutely.
And I know,
I would
I'm
like
sure,
to be numb, sorry, yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to change it again. It's to be not able to feel certain forces in nature. That would allow me to basically go wherever I want. And I'm studying to be a scientist, I guess, so I have the problem of trying to know basically everything. I guess knowledge is a dangerous thing, and I really mean that in some cases. And little knowledge is also a very dangerous thing, so to me, I would like to know it all, to see it all, I guess, and maybe this superpower will help me. But I guess we should go into the mainstream stuff right now. These are my silly ideas, which I thought in 2 seconds. Christian's was way better. But actually, let's go into something cool. Mr. Nitro, by the way, would like to have spider sense. Now look at that. Wouldn't that be awesome? And Mr. Nitro would then probably be a cage fighter. Imagine that, guys. Mr. Nitro there. He can feel attacks coming towards him. He can probably make a lot of money. Forget about what's the guy called GSP and Mr. Anderson Silva. It's going to be Mr. Nitro all the way. So that's awesome. But going on to movies and all, guys. What's the worst superpower that you think that exists in superheroes right now? And again, we can't call Batman to be like a superpower because, you know, that guy is basically smart and he's rich. So being rich is not really a superpower. What else do you think is something?
I also, in that case, I wouldn't say people like Hawkeye or Black Widow are also superheroes.
Yeah, because they're just agile. They are just good at their job, right?
They're just exactly. People I would really consider to be superheroes are just someone with a supernatural ability.
All right.
The dumbest one, Aquaman.
Aquaman. Yeah, he gets a lot of hate. Let's get into that. I enjoy this very much.
He's pretty useless.
I mean, the guy can swim in water. I mean, so can Michael Phelps. I mean, tell me something cool, right? So yeah, him, I don't know, not a big fan.
I can't think of any time being able to communicate with all of the fish in the world is.
Yeah, I mean, I like fishes and all. They're good. They have a place in the universe and all that goods. But I don't know. I really don't want to. Yeah, don't feel his power. What about Captain Hindsight, as Ray said? Are you a fan of South Park? Oh man,
that is a very. See, that is a useful power.
Do you think so? Being able to say, oh, you should have placed this canister here. The fire exit should be 2 inches bigger. All that stuff. Come on, I mean. Yeah, so Captain Hindsight, in my opinion, guys, is the most useless guy there is in the world. And when it comes to superpower, nah. There we go. Exactly, Mr. Renlow saying Batman isn't a superpower. He's just a superhero. Batman is my favorite superhero of all time. And I know everyone says that. But another thing, I guess, on Superman is something very different I saw. And I don't know if you guys have think, and we're actually switching into movie talk now, guys. Let's go to some movies, in a way. And I heard an amazing line from a movie called Unbreakable. Has anyone seen that, by the way? If you've not, I would highly recommend it to everyone. Christian, any idea about that movie? It's by Bruce Willis and Mr. Samuel Jackson. So, 2 awesome guys.
Is Is it an older movie?
It's slightly older-ish. I mean, it's not that old, but it's okay. And there's an amazing line that he says over there that what is it to actually be a superhero? You look at all the superheroes, and most of these superheroes, you know, they have a so-called another identity. They do certain things, but basically they hide their true selves to the whole world. They're not going to tell you who they are and all that stuff. They live their life in their own way, kind of thing. And when the problem comes, they did transform into this being. But the only superhero that is different from the norms is actually Superman. Superman in his own self is Superman. His ulterior ego, I guess, whatever you want to call it, that is actually him not being himself, right? Like every superhero, like Batman, he is actually Bruce Wayne, right? Batman is Bruce Wayne. He lives like that. He, you know, I guess that's him. But the only time when... Sorry, I'm not saying that well. I guess Batman is Bruce Wayne. He becomes Batman for a while, but at the end of the night, he goes back to being Bruce Wayne again. Superman is the only superhero that is always Superman. At his core, the way he was born, he is this super amazing guy, and all he does to hide his awesomeness is to become Clark Kent. So in a way, he's actually completely opposite of every other superhero you know. So... there we go. What do you think about that, man? What do you think about this whole notion of superhero? So, what kind of superhero do you prefer? Do you prefer a guy with a smaller identity, humble beginnings, and then him becoming into this godly being, so-called godly being in their own universe? Or do you like a guy who is so OP like Superman, and he actually has to take care of the world around him to not to damage him? What do you think about that, Mr. Christian?
Well, personally, if I was a super anything, I would be a villain. I would be a villain yesterday. I am all about destruction and terror. But as far as a hero goes, I like how Superman is sort of reversed to standard people, you know, or standard superheroes. But I also feel like other superheroes don't have to hide they're different from Superman in that they don't live in normal society like Superman or Clark Kent does. Like they live at Justice Hall or wherever, so they don't really have to hide themselves.
I guess so, but if you think about it, I guess, mate, heroes like I don't know, like again, we're talking about Batman because he's the most known hero and all. He does have to go back to the society, right? So in terms of, you know, whether you are born for greatness or whether you actually, I guess, you know, you are a humble guy who becomes this great being. That's the question, isn't it? So in that regard, all I want to say in a way is I think Superman is epic in that regard, because no matter how, you know, generic he is and everyone knows about him, there is something special about Superman, which is, you know, him being this awesome guy. And yeah, he has to kind of take care of the world around him. The world is so fragile, according to him, that even if he sneezes, you know, yeah, things can go pretty bad. So I think that's what I'm going for. But in terms of superhero films, I guess that's what we went on to. Tell me your favorite superhero film, Mr. Christian.
My favorite superhero film.
Any thoughts on it? Of course, I'm sure you enjoyed Batman. Everyone likes Batman. Again, I'm with you.
Yes.
It's a great film. Anything on the sidelines? Because I'm going to go into...
Are Transformers considered superheroes?
Well, I guess they are in a way. They're not superheroes, but they are these super kind of... Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Why not? Yeah, you can stick with that.
Then Transformers. Like, if that's... That would be my all-time favorite,
so
because
which is your favorite Transformer, then?
Optimus Prime, of course.
Okay, so the main big
yeah, he's the most badass. He has the best voice. He's the best voiced out of all of them.
One of the guys can't even talk. And Transformers 2, the blasphemy they did with the two funny robots with broken teeth. Man, that was wrong. That made everyone cringe.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know if you guys seen Transformers 2, but if you have, you know what we're talking about. The two so-called funny, not so funny Transformers. But anyways, any other cult film that you've seen, a superhero film which is not mainstream? Because I'm going to name a few films. I did talk about Unbreakable earlier, by the way, guys. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend all of you to try it out. It's a good film. So anything...
A cult superhero?
Yeah. Anything that you know that you personally enjoy, and like, you know, I don't care what you say. I like the film. Any names so far? Or
not off the top of my head. I haven't seen a whole lot of cult sort of superhero films. The Green Hornet was horrible. I know that.
Oh my God, yes, Green Hornet. Yeah. And that again, you know, he's not really hasn't got any superpowers. He's just that cool dude with even a cooler sidekick. So yeah. Okay, fair enough. So guys, let me tell you a film, and Ray's is gonna jump in and he's gonna help me out. People like Dark Knight. I liked it, but to me, Dark Knight, you know, they always say that you become a superhero by the supervillains you fight. The harder challenges you face, the better you become it. You know, whatever you do, really. So I guess with that regards, Batman was a good film, and I think Batman became what it was. And I'm talking about the second Batman. That's where things really got interesting, is because you had an amazing villain in form of Joker. You've seen Batman, right, Mr. Christian?
Of course.
Yeah, so
all of them. Yes.
I think Batman 2, the second one, The Dark Knight, was awesome because, well, Joker was amazing. Heath Ledger did an amazing job with that character, and we all loved the thing. So in terms of the film itself, it's a good film, but I really didn't enjoy Bruce Wayne that much. I mean, the guy was okay, but I think there are better things out there. So I'm kind of not going to say I'm a hater, but I think it's not the best film out there. Especially the third one, it's okay. But let me tell you a film I enjoy. So there we go. Ray's making an awesome joke in the comment section. So the film I loved is Watchmen. Has anyone seen Watchmen?
Oh, guys? Yes, I have seen Watchmen.
So what do you think about that film?
That was a very good film.
It's just the whole idea of the way the universe was. Of course, Dr. Manhattan, people make fun of his anatomy, but to me, yeah, what a superhero that guy was. You know, he is the guy, again, in terms, if you want to talk about God, and if you want to even talk about Superman-esque powers, in the Watchmen universe, Dr. Manhattan, he takes the cake. He's the guy who knows it all. He's broken the laws and boundaries of quantum mechanics, and that guy is good. On the other hand, you have this so-called broken, fractured guy, which is Batman-esque like guy. You know, he is called Rorschach. I don't know if you remember it, Mr. Christian. And he's the guy who, I guess, you know, he's a detective of the group. He's always finicky. He never trusts anyone, and yeah, that's him. You also have the generic, the White Knight in a way, which are the other superheroes. You have the guy wearing the owl mask. I don't even know his name, but basically that film to me showed the vulnerabilities of a superhero itself. The world was chaotic, the people guarding it were chaotic, and it was all about, hey, the world's gonna go to so-called the world's gonna go crazy in a bit, and it's these guys' job to sort it out, but they're too busy fighting their own inner demons. And that to me, it connected a lot more with the real life idea of a superhero than anything else. So I think Watchmen to me, guys, was an epic film. I enjoyed the heck out of that film, and I think to me, it's, when it comes to recent superhero films, Watchmen to me is the best film out there. So I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, but I think I enjoy that film so very much, and yeah, that's my thing here. But anyways, so that was, I guess, our superhero talk. Any last thoughts? We should wrap up our stream right now. We should wrap up our podcast. Anything anyone else wants to say, do let us know, guys, in the chat. But this was Mr. Christian. So Mr. Christian, your last thoughts on the little podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, by the way. So
I had a wonderful time.
Well, thank you so very much for coming by, mate. It would have been possible without you guys. As I said, I stream on Twitch all the time if you're watching this on YouTube, and so does my awesome friend here from Monk Mafia, Mr. Christian. He is a very good streamer. If you want to stop by, say hello to us. If you want to be a part of the stream, please do come by. As you saw, we talk about silly things all the time, mainly Diablo. Sometimes we try to mix things up. We go to some completely off topics, we ramble on, but hey, that's a part of the podcast. We still haven't thought of a name. Christian, any idea about the name for the podcast? I want to keep this community oriented, so I have a few names, but I want to get output from the community. So if you have any ideas, let me know, my friend. I would love to know your opinions on it.
Okay, I don't have any off the top of my head, but I will. I will think about it.
Okay, cool. So I guess, game, we need to find a name for the podcast. And as the game tells you right now, it's time to end the stream, guys. Thank you so very much for stopping by. This is Holy Hermit. This is Holy Hermit. See, at the end, I can't even talk. This is Holy Hermit for you. I would like to thank my awesome guest here, Mr. Christian, a fellow Monk Mafia player, for coming by and helping us out. More importantly, I'd love to thank all of you guys for stopping here in the live chat, giving your amazing feedback. You guys were excellent. You guys were epic. And this podcast was amazing. So thank you very much for coming here, all of you. This was our podcast number 2, a podcast without a name. Hopefully, we'll come up with a name in the future. But more importantly, we're going to keep bringing you interesting topics. Any ideas you have about any further topics, do send me a message on YouTube channel. I'll take the topics, because all the topics you see, the silly ones we pick about superheroes and all, and even the game, it comes from all of you. So it's all about community interaction. But at the end of it, all I want to say is thank you, good night, and I'll see you all next time. So